Hello and welcome to day two of the Freedom Test series between India and South Africa, played in Johannesburg. A rather intriguing day's play. We have with us Shaun Pollock and me, Dinesh Karthik, and we are here on Cricbuzz Chatter. Kohli, what did you make of India's batting? Let's go back and then start backwards. What did you make of India's batting in the second hour and South Africa's bowling in the last hour?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. If you'd said to South Africa, what would you want? You'd want to pick up the wickets of Rahul and Mayank Agarwal as quickly as possible. They've been the two form players in many ways in the series so far. So once they got that, you thought it was a real opportunity to apply some pressure. But I think they leaked too many runs, to be totally honest. In the context of this game, it doesn't look like it's going to be a high-scoring encounter. And 85 for two, giving India a lead of 58. I mean, I've just been impressed by, Pujara, Rahane, Vihari, Pant. You felt like you could put them under pressure because of maybe trying to fight for places in the side, the way they've played so far. But you wouldn't have thought it by the way they went around it. And Pujara in particular, been more aggressive than I've basically ever seen him in the test arena, and looking to put the bad balls away. So I think it'll be a different plan tomorrow for South Africa. They can't afford to leak those runs. They can't afford to go over 4 and over in each over that they bowl. So it'll be a bit more of a reserve thing. I think they got a little bit carried away between trying to strike, trying to pick up some wickets, and make sure that they had 3 or 4 down before the close. It will be different. Olivier continues to pick up wickets. Jansen continues to impress. And for me, Lungin Gidi under bowled. I don't know if there is a little niggle on there, but for me, 3 overs, 0 for 5. He was the pick at Supersport Park. He was the pick in the first innings. I don't know if he is carrying a niggle, but yeah, it's ebbed and flowed, hasn't it? It's been up and down, and I've been impressed with the way India fought back in that last 45 minutes in particular.
I mean, it's very, very interesting to see the route that Pujara has taken. It's amazing what people can do when their backs are pushed to the wall. Just the aggression with which he came out, pulling short balls, taking on the fuller balls, not just looking to duck and leave and weave and all of those things, coming out and saying, hey, I'm here to score runs today. And that was so good to watch because even though Pujara is known to be somebody who doesn't have a great strike rate in domestic cricket, interestingly, he batted around 60, 65 consistently on days that he batted well. So that's his natural game, his ability to rotate strike. He takes on spinners very well because he steps out a lot, always gets runs along the ground, doesn't go for the big shots over the top, but when it comes to spin, plays it along the ground. When it comes to medium pace, obviously he's got his weaknesses and strengths, and he sticks to his strength, which is a cut shot, anything that's really full driving it. And pull has never been something that he goes for a lot, but today, just the way and the attitude that he came with, brilliant. And interestingly, the one dismissal I want to speak about, Holly, is Mayank Agarwal leaving a ball that probably jagged in a bit. As a bowler, is that something that you're looking to do, create that doubt before he leaves the ball like that?
Yeah, it was actually a huge surprise for me because, I'd had some tea and I'd spilt it onto the hand, and I watched the delivery before, and it was a genuine half volley from Dwan Olivier. It was over pitched, and he just smashed it through the covers. And as I walked to the washroom, I was like, that's not the kind of deliveries you want to be seeing from Olivier. You've got to be hitting your areas. And then as I'm washing my hands, I hear the crowd, well, not the crowd, there's not much in here, but the people around the ground, the roar comes out, and I come back and watch the replay, and it didn't make sense to me. From having played that brilliant cover drive, to be going into the mindset of looking to leave that delivery was foolish in length. So a bit of a surprise, and maybe sometimes you get into your mind space as a test batter, you play a shot or whatever, you think, I need to go back into my bubble. I mustn't get too expensive, and you start to think things too much rather than just seeing ball, playing ball. He looked in good touch again, didn't he? And played some wonderful shots. So I think he'll be pretty disappointed with that one. A bit of a strange one, but we've all done it. We've all had that brain fade where straight delivery with just shoulder arms, and that's the end of the show.
Well, I don't want to in any way upset you or undermine you, but there was one man who stole the show today. And, for some strange reason, I feel he has a few characteristics that's aligned with you. I mean, he's obviously not the quickest bowler going around, obviously moves the ball a bit, can bat very well under pressure. But let's talk about his bowling today. 7 for 61, the best figures by an Indian in South Africa, by an Asian in South Africa, actually. Just the way his attitude, his ability to break partnerships. You can do it once, you can do it twice, but if you're doing it consistently, you have some game in you, if I can say that. What do you see in him? If you're a selector, or if you're somebody who can, in many ways, put yourself in his shoes, what do you think is his speciality? What's so beautiful about him?
Yeah, I think there must just be a self-belief there. What was the hashtag Lord Taco? The way he's performed and brilliant 7 for 61. I mean, he was grazing in the outfield for most of the match. He didn't come on to bowl for quite some time. Even the injured Siraj got an opportunity. Ashwin was reintroduced before him. And then he came on, and boy, oh boy, did he have an impact. Picked up that vital wicket to break the partnership. And I think just his angle on the crease was the key to his success here. From wide, he was angling it in and then getting it to shape away. And then if it didn't do that, it would sort of nip back and get the batters to play at it. So I think his game plan was really good. He didn't mix it up too much. There was the odd short delivery thrown in. But he just kept running in, almost like he had this magical or real desire to try and prove a point. And we've seen it before. We saw his performance at Brisbane. And it was interesting to hear Eric Simons, who works with him at CSK, who said to us, he just thinks he's the kind of guy who, when you give him the responsibility to do a job, he almost thrives on that responsibility. And with Siraj being injured, they had to turn to him and say, listen, you're not just a stopgap. We need you to step up and bowl well. And I was just really impressed by what he did. Lovely surface to bowl from for that kind of bowler, one who's as accurate as he is. But he made the opportunity his own. And as you say, best figures for an Indian bowler.
Paul, I mean, I'm sure you will speak about his credentials as an international bowler, but I have a special place for him in my heart only because as a domestic player, he's played 60, 70 matches for a side called Bombay, which has done phenomenally well in domestic cricket over a period of time. They've won the Ranji Trophy the most number of times, and he's been their lead bowler for about 6 to 8 years before getting this opportunity to play in the colors of, to play Test cricket for India. So in those years, obviously, he started as somebody who was a third bowler, but went on to become their lead bowler along with Dhaval Kulkarni and done brilliantly well for them because he was again the guy who used to pick up wickets early, partnership breaker there as well. So he's used to this and just his attitude. I mean, if you just look at him and you just look at the skills of a Bumrah or a Shami, you look at him and go, wow, what's so special about him? But I think his speciality, like you just nailed it, is his self-confidence. His belief that, he can come in and do something. And, you could see the captains obviously are a little bit reluctant because when you have talented bowlers like a Siraj, a Shami and a Bumrah, you tend to bring him on a little later when the ball is slightly older, when the bowlers are tired, just as a stopgap option. No offense to him, but just the way he's taken on the role and done so well was just brilliant to watch. And two batters that he bowled to today who have done well, one Keegan Peterson and another Temba Bavuma, yet another 50 there. How did you feel they went about their batting today?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Keegan Peterson. And, as you make your way in your Test career, you have to get that score under the belt that gives you, a bit more longevity, almost gives you a little bit more time to settle. And he did that. He's got some good starts and he's looked the part at times. But I was impressed with the way he applied himself, particularly up front when they were looking to absorb a lot of pressure here at the start of day 2. And chuffed that he went on to get that 60. It probably a little bit all too much for him, the emotion. You get to 50, the applause, the feeling like you belong, and then maybe a little bit loose compared to what we'd seen from him for the rest of his innings. Temba, I think he's looked as organised as anyone in the series so far. Got some really good innings under the belt. A little bit surprised, though, by the way he got out, almost looking like he wanted to walk down the wicket at Tukur, and I don't know if there was any need for that at that stage. But besides that, really looked organised. It's his home ground, and he looks as comfortable as I've seen him in any series so far. So that's good signs for him, and hopefully for the second innings and for the third Test match still to come. But tell me, a point we had some discussion here with regards to a couple of the dismissals. There was one where Rassie van der Dussen reviewed it and it was seen to bounce short. And then there was another catch that was quite contentious. I think there was a bit of discussion maybe at the lunch break. Maybe the South African camp, I think, went in to ask if that had carried. And we were having a discussion here and saying it is funny enough that for wicketkeepers in particular with the gloves that they've got, and often for fielders, when you take in that ball coming forward, you would think you would be able to see it and whether it has or hasn't carried, but it's not that easy, is it? I mean, there are times where even as a wicketkeeper, because of the bulkiness of the gloves, you're not sure whether it has exactly carried or not.
Absolutely bang on. Even when you just showed it, Polly, the way you do, as soon as you get your head away, it's hard to see the ball. And because you have a glove there, which obviously has a lot of leather in it, which is going to protect you from the hits, what it does is the impact on the ground is not seen. So you're not sure whether it's come straight into your gloves or just bounced in front. And this happens a lot, even to slip fielders, even to fielders at any point. Sometimes, you just take it on the bounce, you're not sure. And that's when obviously you have your cameras and angles. And in spite of all the HD technology and everything that has moved on, it is really hard. So we have to go as a thumb rule with what the fielder says. And on top of that, we have two umpires there standing in the ground and getting a good view of what's happening, and trust them. Because over a period of time, 15 years ago, we had the same problem. We had, slightly lesser cameras. Today, the cameras have gotten better. There are far more cameras as well. In spite of that, if you're not able to obviously, nail the decision, or let's say get conclusive evidence, then you have to understand that you have to go with umpires and the keeper as well. So I think the decisions were well taken. I completely understand where Dean Elgar was coming from. Obviously, he had the nick which just bounced in front of the keeper, which was obvious, so it was overturned. But when it comes to Rassie van der Dussen, it wasn't obvious. So obviously, there's not conclusive evidence, so you don't obviously turn it around. So as a keeper, you try your best to be honest about it, but a lot of the times you do miss it because of the protection in the gloves, and you don't tend to see it because your head goes back technically.
Yeah, one thing I'd also add is, often hear people say, "Oh, you need to trust the fielder." If he says it's out, then you must just go with it. But I think what we've proven with technology and the tight camera angles that you get is actually, as a catcher in the slip cordon, at times you don't know. You're not 100% sure. That's why to check it out is probably a good thing.
It's time for the hotspot now, Polly. You got to get ready there. Polly, how would you rate KL's captaincy? You saw it from up close. I will give you my views as well, but most importantly, you saw it from up close. So how would you rate KL's captaincy that happened today?
Yeah, I think he's been good. He's had a few challenges, hasn't he? I mean, Siraj getting injured, that's never easy as a captain when one of your lead bowlers goes missing in action. Although Siraj, in all honesty, did a decent job, those two spells were quite important. We'll have to see what he can do second time around. I think he would have been scratching his head a little bit after the first session today. I mean, the bowlers were brilliant. Bumrah and Shami, they asked so many questions. But as a captain, you do feel when you don't pick up wickets, like, what more am I supposed to do? Do I have to change things? Do I have to think out of the box? And I don't think he did. And eventually he got the reward just before the lunch break. I thought the way he used Ashwin was okay. He had a look to see if there was any assistance. But I think you never know what goes on behind the scenes. But obviously some conversations with Shardul Thakur were important. He got him to believe. He kept him going, kept him being able to play a big part in the success of that innings. So I would say he's ticked a lot of the boxes, no problems there whatsoever. And it's going to be interesting second time around. Can he manage his troops to get a victory, depending on what score they get?
Oh, definitely. I think, you're absolutely right there. And you got to understand that obviously Virat Kohli was a designated captain. He wasn't, and he hasn't missed a test match in a long, long time. So obviously when the call up did come saying that you're going to be captaining this match, I think it has come out a bit like a bolt out of the blue, but I think he's handled it well. Obviously, he's in good batting form, which helps. Just the moves that he made, the way he brought Shami Bumrah and then brought Ashwin to get an Elgar out. His thought process is right. Even in the limited time that he's led Kings 11, he's been pretty solid with his decisions in terms of the moves that he makes. He looked a very, very calm and composed captain. He's a pretty emotional character per se, but it never comes out on the field. I think he's able to hold that thoughts to himself, the feelings to himself, and the ground. He's there, led really well. Even at the end, when the tail got going with the Jansen and a Maharaj, I think he still held on to the right bowlers, made the right bowling changes, didn't really open it up for them to obviously make it easy. I think he attacked at the right points. And I think overall, he had a good day, mainly thanks to the one man, Dr. Lord Shardul Thakur. And he can't go wrong if you trust the Lord right at this point of time. And as we move on to that, it's time to go on to fast forward now, Polly. All right, two old war horses, if I may call them that, Mr. Cheteshwar Pujara, Rahane at crease, but obviously a lot to do as the wicket goes on. I'm assuming it gets quicker. How do you see day 3 panning out, Polly? An early flight again, you guess, to Durban?
Well, it's definitely not going to be on day 5, the flight. I'm thinking the game should go to day 4. But yeah, as I say, I was impressed with how they fought back late this on day 2 here. And it's, I mean, I suppose we overuse the saying as the portal, the vital, the very important session, the first session tomorrow morning. What can go on? I think Siraj is going to be probably missing in action, so maybe Ashwin plays a bit more of a role in the second innings when they try and knock South Africa over. because it will get to that point. Obviously, whatever runs they get, South Africa will probably bowl them out at some stage. I think South Africa's approach will be a lot different, but I think India will go in a little bit happier than they would have after that partnership and the rate that they scored the runs and the 58 that they have on the board. It's going to be interesting. That wicket's going to continue misbehaving. You're going to get the odd one that jumps off a length. It's whether that takes the wicket or not, or whether guys can combat it or get lucky and play and miss. But I would expect a better performance from South Africa. I think if India set them anything more than 220, 225, up to 250, I think it's going to be a real big ask of South Africa to try and knock that off. So, yeah, I mean, the context of the series hangs in the balance. If you win this game, India, you win the series. So it's nicely set up, and I think it's going to be thoroughly entertaining tomorrow. I don't know if you see things differently.
No, I was just hoping that you tell me that Friday can be an easy day for me. Maybe I can travel, do something with the kids. What do you reckon, Kohli? Is that possible?
What is today? Let me have a look. So today is definitely Friday. It's a 4-day test match. Definitely.
All right, that's
the game
great.
will finish on Thursday.
That is good, Polly. And on that note, even I believe if the target is anything more than 220, India are going to be in the driver's seat. And for the moment, it definitely looks like with the two senior statesmen there, it is very much possible. Keep watching. We'll be back here tonight, same time tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye from Polly and me at Cricbuzz Chatter.